Welcome back to another Joe Mullally sharing space.
Several years ago, a fascinating conference took place in the US featuring native Chinese healers and Native American healers. It offered a unique platform for these two cultures to share aspects of their healing traditions with members of the wider public. As it panned out, much of the time was taken up with presentations covering technical elements of the Chinese I Ching and Native American medicine wheel. There was precious little practical demonstration at all. However, there was one very notable exception. On the second day of the event, a Native American medicine man took to the stage to give his presentation. At the outset, he remarked how impressed he was with all the technical insights and slideshows put forward up to that point. He himself had nothing more to add to this, technically speaking. However, he had been asked to speak at the event, so there was obviously something he needed to share. Perhaps the best thing I can do, he said, is to actually show you my own way of working. Having said this, he asked the audience if anybody would like a healing. A woman in the second row put up her hand. This lady, in her early 60s, was a freelance journalist, covering the event for an alternative health magazine. She had been suffering from arthritis for many years. This medicine man quietly walked down from the stage, made space for himself in the audience, and sat down directly beside her. After settling himself for a moment, he took her hands in his and they both remained still. Presently he leaned over and whispered something softly into her ear. She slowly began to cry. Next, as this warm, strong healer sat quietly with her, holding her hands, she went through a series of emotional cycles. Each episode of visible grief was followed by a period of deep calm, over and over again. All the while he stayed present to her, mindfully holding her hands. Finally, after about 10 minutes, she came to a lasting peace within herself. Here he released her hands slowly and walked back up onto the stage. She was a changed woman. Her energy had completely lifted, and she was full of vitality throughout the rest of the conference. "This is the way I work," he explained. "This service is a simple thing for me. When somebody asks me for a healing, the first thing I do is check with my spirits and my guides. I ask them to tell me why this person has come to see me now. Then I am told what I must do. Maybe I'm to work on the person directly. Maybe I am to give them advice about something. Maybe I am required to direct them to go to someone else. Whatever I am to do, they will let me know. During this demonstration here, I said to the lady, 'Your pain is not your own. You have suffered it long enough. I now understand it. Give it to me. I will gladly take it from you and deal with it for you from now on.' As I sat with her, she was willing, thankfully, to release her pain to me and let it go." As you can imagine, this practical demonstration made a profound impression on many of those attending that event at the time. People who witnessed that healing session firsthand never forgot it. The simplicity of it, the effectiveness of it. It was a wonderful demonstration of how traditional ways of working can bring profound impacts to the healing process, and it showed up very clearly the contrast between these ancient ways of working and many of the modern alternative therapy methods. When I was young, I was fascinated by the great Roman Catholic healer, Padre Pio. Many people know of this great man's ability to heal people. Not so many people know how he did this. Padre Pio was a Roman Catholic priest, and so he subscribed to the old traditional Roman Catholic view of suffering. This view held that any suffering visited upon you was to be welcomed as an opportunity to share in Christ's suffering on the cross for the sins of mankind. A critical point in this teaching, however, said that you would never be sent more suffering than you could bear. So Padre Pio believed suffering was be coped with as an act of true spiritual love. Now, when people came to him asking to be healed of their pain, he prayed to God for them. And in his prayer he asked God to consider how in these particular cases he had sent these people too much to cope with. However, since the Padre believed deeply that the suffering needed to be done, he asked God to lift it from the afflicted person and place it on him instead. In short, he offered to take on the burden of their pain and suffering for them. This is how his miracle cures were achieved, and this was his choice. It was part of his spiritual loving contract, his spiritual life purpose with the divine. You may well ask then, how do people continue to experience miraculous cures through devotion to him long after his death? And to answer this, you must remind yourself that in truth all people really heal themselves. So the role of any healer here is to kick-start that process. It's important to stress here too that the vast majority of traditional healers certainly do not make a habit of holding on to the pain of others. Far from it. That was Padre Pio's own individual choice, as I've already explained. Moreover, the great spiritual love and compassion shown by a healer like Padre Pio is actually ever present with us, here all the time. It is a great spiritual gift of love from the divine. Gifted healers down through all the generations then are divinely blessed ambassadors, gently reminding us continuously of the power we hold within.
This podcast was from Joe Mullally's Sharing Space. Thanks so much for listening.